Welcome to the Vet to Vet podcast. I'm your host, Bill Fitters. Joining me as I talk to fellow veterans about their military experiences from Vietnam to Operation Enduring Freedom. This podcast is sponsored by Tugs, talking, understanding, growing, and supporting. Even big ships need a little help sometimes. Feel free to hit the subscribe button below to get our latest Vet to Vet interview. Feel free to like, share, and leave a comment below. And thanks for joining us. Sitting down with Navy veteran, Petty Officer Third Class, Adam. Here we go. I'm going to try it. Bansley.
Perfect.
Alrighty, sir. You want to start off with what was life like before you went in the military? Where was that and all that?
Well, I grew up here in Monroe. Actually, from a Navy family. I'm the youngest of 8, and my oldest 2 brothers were retired from the Navy, and I had a sister and another brother that also were in the Navy. Didn't grow up with a lot of money in the family. And when I was in high school, the Army recruiter called and said, what are you doing after high school? And I said, I have no clue. He said, well, you want to join the Army? And I said, no. He said, well, can we come talk to you? I said, you can come talk to me, but I'm going to be honest. If I'm going to join anything, it'd be the Navy. Anyway, they came and talked to me. I took the ASVAB, scored well, right? And they did this thing where they're trying to get me to sign up right there or whatever. And I said, nah, I'm going to better take me back home. But I was still kind of thinking about it at that point, just because, it's like, even at that age, I knew it was a ticket to go see some of the world and get some money for college and all that. And then the next weekend, my mom called, my room was in the basement. My mom called downstairs and said, Adam, come up here. The Navy recruiters are here to talk to you. She had called them. And we sat down in the dining room and she said, okay, fellas, I've had 4 kids in the Navy. So if you lie to him, I'm going to know. Go ahead.
Nice.
And so I talked to them, and my oldest brothers were crypto techs, CTs, and they knew that in high school, I was really good with languages. It was like, I think most people have that one class that you don't really have to try. You could just show up and it just made sense. For me, languages were like that. And
mine was gym class. Just so you know.
See, gym class was the opposite for me. Anyway, so my brothers told me, if you're going to join, you want to be a CT and you probably want to be a CTI. They gave me the scoop. So I asked to take the D-Lab, which is the Defense Language Aptitude Battery. And, I think we all have the experience. They bust you in. I had 4 hours of sleep, and I'm taking this test. And basically the way it works is they make up a language. They say, okay, here's the first rule of this language. And then they give you a sentence and they say, now and it's gibberish, whatever this made up language is. And they give you a sentence and they say, okay, well, what's the noun? And then they they make up another rule. And by the end of the test, you're trying to translate, full paragraphs in this made up language that you just learned. And I left the test thinking I must have got maybe two questions right. And I scored well. They offered me, they said I qualified for whatever category language I wanted to learn. I ended up going with Korean because I'd studied Japanese previously in high school. And, but in order to be a CTI, because your school is so long and you have to get a security clearance, and they have to spend a bunch of money, you got to sign up for at least 5 years. Because you're going to be in school for 2, they're going to spend, $200,000 on your clearance. They want to make sure they get 3 years of work out of you. So, and then I got a little whatever bonus, signed up, did boot camp. After boot camp, my A school was in Monterey, California at the Defense Language Institute. I started in the Korean program. I ended up getting a really bad sore throat, and I ended up having to go and have my tonsils lanced, and I was out of commission, and I missed 3 days of school. Well, essentially the Korean program, if I recall correctly, was an 8-month program, and you're pretty fluent at the end of that. So you get to school at 7 in the morning, you're not allowed to speak English until you leave at 3.
Oh, wow.
So you learn pretty rapidly. Well, if you miss more than 2 days of school, you can't catch up and you got to start over. The problem was they didn't have the wait list for Korean, I think was like 8 months long, and I was already 4 months in. And so they're like, we can't have you waiting around. We want you to learn Spanish. And I'd studied German, I had studied Japanese, I'd studied a little bit of French. Being a dumb kid from southern Wisconsin, I was like, who speaks Spanish? I don't want to learn Spanish.
Right.
And they said, well, you could either learn Spanish or we could send you out to the fleet undesignated and you could chip paint. I said, Spanish sounds great. And so I ended up going through the Spanish program. I was dating another sailor who was born in America, but was raised in Colombia for like the first 12 years of her life. So she was fluent, fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the language. And that's what I ended up working in. So then I had a B school in San Angelo, Texas. And then I had a C school in Pensacola, Florida. And then I did what was called direct support in the Navy. Basically, I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas, and I would fly out to meet a ship wherever it was. I'd go on a cruise between 3 to 6 months, and then I'd fly back to Texas for a few months, and then I'd go out to a different ship. So I ended up, I was on a Coast Guard cutter, I was on a guided missile cruiser, I was on a little Tagos vessel. I got to see a lot of different, a lot of guys spend their enlistment on one ship, and that wasn't the case for me. And then in June of 2001, I got out, and it didn't work out with that girl. We were engaged for a while, and she broke it off, and I was just like, I think when I was in high school, growing up in Monroe's a small town, back then there wasn't really much going on. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of here. That was my chance. But as I got older and as I saw the world, I think you mature a little and you go, it's not so bad being from a small little place where everybody knows you and you don't, and I came back in 2001 and I've been here since.
Yeah, that in Monroe is just the Midwest. Everybody's so grounded, and I think that's what attracts us back. I have the same thing from Blancheville, small town. Couldn't wait to get out of there. And then once you've been in for a while and you've seen many parts of the world, you're just kind of like, you know what? That wasn't so bad. That actually was pretty good.
Exactly. And I do miss some of the big cities that I was in, San Diego, but it doesn't feel like an urban metropolis. It feels like a bunch of suburbs spread out. But there was something to do. There was a million things to do at any given time, day or night. And I missed some of that, but it's also, very anonymous. And I think in the military, I still have friends that I keep in contact with, but, for 5 years, you meet people and you're with them for 2 or 3 months and you form really strong bonds and then you just never see them again.
Right.
Because you get shipped off somewhere else and, and I think probably one of the things I like about the small town is like the people I knew before I left, a lot of them are still here. They're going to be here, it's steady, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think, what do they call that? Separation? No, not separation anxiety, but the military is good at getting you close to somebody and then yanking them away. I can't remember what that's actually called, but because of that, I think when we get out, we have a tendency to kind of keep our distance from new people that we meet and keep strong bonds with the ones that we've known.
Hmm.
So it's a difficult transition from going in, coming from a small town where everybody knows you and you know everybody and you know where everything is at and what's jumping, what's dying type environment as well, to going into something where you're mixing cultures, which is exciting because you get to learn different
Hmm.
cultures from different people, and you get bonded with them. But then all of a sudden, like you said, the cord is cut and you're shipped somewhere else,
Hmm.
or sent somewhere else, and that takes a toll on you. And then to finally come back home and become regrounded again, but you still got your relationship with your brothers and sisters that you served with. That's for sure.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I think the thing is too, at least for me, maybe it's not true for everybody, it takes a toll on you that you're not even aware of at the time.
Right, right.
You know, because you're just, especially when you're young and still invincible, and not thinking about a lot of that stuff. It's not until you get older and you go, wow, that it was hard not seeing the. I had this one woman who I was like, she was kind of my mentor, and she was great. And I don't know, a couple years ago, I looked her up, and like she had died of cancer like 3 years before, and it's like everybody already grieved for her and did all that, and it's like just just happened for me,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff I'm sure happens all the time, and there's a bunch of guys that I was in school with and stuff that I was really close to, and I can't find them. I've tried to find them, and it's tough. Uh, and but I always say it's $1 million experience, or it's a $1 million experience I wouldn't pay a dime for. Um, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm glad I did it, and I saw a lot and I learned a lot, and it really changed my outlook on everything. Really, when you travel the world, no matter what, I think you're exposed to different cultures, and you realize, oh, the way Americans do things isn't the only way, and it's not necessarily the best way. An example is in South America, you don't get anywhere on time ever. Nobody. You just don't. Nobody's in a hurry. They don't live that kind of lifestyle. And to go, oh, this is kind of nice,
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Maybe they got that part right.
yeah. When I was stationed in Spain, being exposed to markets and going shopping and what have you that are doing the siesta thing, it's just
Hmm.
like, that ain't a bad idea to like shut down in the middle of the day and then rejuvenate yourself and come back in the afternoon. And, you know, and that ain't one of our ideas. And it
Hmm.
certainly would work here though.
Well, I've been doing. I've been. Everybody who knows me teases me because I'm a big fan of naps. So I'm like, dude, I've been in South America. They got that part right, and I'm gonna take a little siesta. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. So out of all the places you traveled, which one kind of sticks with you, whether it be something positive or maybe something negative that you keep near and dear to your heart? In other words, something that nobody else, probably from your graduating class, experienced as far as military wise.
Boy. Uh, so it was kind of, for me. It was a little different than the other fellas on the ship, because we were in South America, and I was fluent in Spanish to the point where when I would speak, the natives would assume that I was from a country that they hadn't heard, but they didn't peg me for a gringo ever.
Okay.
So I had a little bit of probably a different experience. When I hit port, I went the other way from where everybody else was going. I wasn't trying to go to all the tourist places. I wanted to like go and eat at the restaurant where like all the regulars go.
Yeah.
And I really loved Colombia. We went to Cartagena a few times. I think 3 times maybe I was there, and it just was great. And I had so many great experiences. When you would get off the ship, there would be just a slew of kids and people trying to sell you stuff, and they're poor, and I never begrudged them that, but they would like follow you down the street. And there was this little place called El Pibe that I would go to every day for lunch, and there was a little old Colombian lady that made the best chicken and rice that I ever had, and I had a lot while I was down there. But she had a fence in her courtyard, and she wouldn't let them come and try to sell you stuff. So you could have your meal, without them bugging you. And if they tried to yell at you over the fence, she'd come and shoo them off with a broom. And I also remember there was one of the indigenous women there sell their handmade like coats and all kinds of stuff. It's super colorful, the blankets. And I talked to this one woman, her name was Olga, and I told her I might come back and buy a blanket later. Well, forgot all about it. We left, I don't know, I hit some other ports. I was probably gone. Yeah, we went through the Panama Canal, went to Ecuador, came back. We stopped in Cartagena, and I'm walking down the street, and I hear, Adan. And I was like, that can't be me. Nobody here, right? Nobody here. And I hear Adan, and I look, and it's Olga, and she remembered my name,
Nice.
And I was like, well, this lady just sold herself a blanket because I got to buy one now.
Right.
And just little experiences like that were so cool, and I think in the military you do meet, you end up making a lot of single serving friends. You're never going to probably see them again, but you have a little connection or a little conversation with somebody, and it's and it's cool and it's memorable. And I had a million of those, but that one stuck out when you asked me. So
excellent. So you are now on the board of directors for a mental health awareness group. Would you like to touch on that?
Yeah. So a friend of mine, Jeff Ditzenberger, got a hold of me. Well, that's been quite a few years ago now, about this idea he had. Jeff was also in the Navy, and he knew that I was a Navy vet, and he started telling me about this idea. He wanted to, there's a stigma around mental illness and mental health, and like, taking care of your own mental health, and being, there's a stigma around being ashamed of it and all this. And he wanted to have a group, have a place for people to go where like they knew that they weren't going to get judged or looked down on, and they could just, take care of their mental health. And he wanted to call it TUGS, which is, an acronym, but I liked his imagery about the tugboat and Navy and all that stuff. And he asked me if I'd do the logo, and I said I would. And then it was a little while later, he said, hey, as a vet, is this something you want to like maybe be a part of? And I said, for sure, it sounds great. And so he put that together. We've got a board now. I mean, it's really starting to take off, and I think we have a really good group of people. Everybody seems really motivated to build this thing to help people, and I'm pretty happy to be working on it with them.
Excellent. And I think this nonprofit is something that you as a vet and being the vet representative can really be beneficial for veterans, for local people, whether they're farmers. You know how hard teenage life is, and in the early 20s, where it just seems like there's no map. There's no map in life, and that's where things get confused and things start to develop in regards to mental health. And I think this TUGS nonprofit group is going to do some phenomenal work. And I think Jeff is extremely motivated, and he takes this very near and dear to his heart. Don't ever tell him I told you that. But
Mum's the word.
Yeah, the guy is phenomenal, and I like his vision of what he wants it to grow into. And I appreciate you being the veteran representative on that board of directors, and I I look for tugs to do great things in the upcoming future. It's just getting it, just getting its ability to walk right now, and once it starts running, I think it'll be phenomenal.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and it feels like the community is really embracing it too, and they're into it, and they're being very supportive, and that's really it's going to be a good thing. I like too that part of the vision, I think, for Jeff is, there is a veteran liaison. There is so he's kind of filled the organization with people that somebody can relate to, right? Maybe you'd be more comfortable talking to this person because of whatever experience or whatever, and so that's, it's really shaping up, I guess. I'm pretty excited about it.
Good. So for all the fellow veterans out there that are struggling with mental health issues, whether it be PTSD or depression, or basically just struggling in life, what would be your advice?
Don't be afraid to talk to somebody about it. Don't be ashamed of it. We all have struggles, whether some of us admit it in public or not. We all have mental struggles with things. There's nothing to be ashamed of. For me, I always, any mistake I make, as long as I learn from it, anything that happens, as long as, if you're having any kind of issues like that, find somebody to talk to. And if you can't find anybody, then find an organization like Tugs, because we've got people that would be happy to talk to. We can direct you to different resources where people will help you without any kind of judgment.
And I think that's the key word that you keep throwing out there is there's no judgment, because like I said, I think everybody who is part of the board of directors or just members have had some personal experience that, and also had some professional experience where not only could they help you just by talking to you, but they also can point you to somebody else that may have went down that same road. And trust me, folks, everybody goes down that dark road sometime in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And,
for sure.
And it's okay to reach out for that light to find a way out or to help you on your path forward. And there's nothing to be ashamed about. It happens. It's just, chemically something just ain't clicking, and reach out to somebody. It's a most important message, and understand that nobody's going to judge you. You may have all them, let's beat on our chest, warriors that say, oh, men don't have these issues. Yeah, they do, and to close a blind eye and try playing big man on campus, you're putting a lot of extra weight on your own shoulders, and you're putting a ton of weight on somebody else's shoulders who can barely walk on their own right now. So please don't do that to folks. If anything, point them towards Tugs, point them towards the VA. Everybody matters. Everybody's going to contribute something in life. So,
and there's people out there that care. They don't even know you yet, but they care.
Yeah.
And you can find them. Just don't be afraid to.
Yeah. And the other thing is, for veterans out there or anybody else that may be struggling mental health wise, the worst thing you can do is shut down and go into your own little hole. And, like they used to tell us in the military, if you're already in a hole, don't continue to dig. The best thing to do is just get involved in something that you're near and dear to your heart, to kind of refocus your emotions and your feelings, and keep active. The moment you sit down and surrender, that's not something we were trained to do. We were trained to survive and win. So that's my 2 cents. We're sorry about that.
No, I agree. For me personally, I have had issues with anxiety for a long time, and I got to the point where, I was basically having like panic attacks constantly for like 2 weeks. And I thought, it might be time to talk to somebody about this. I'm clearly not handling it as well as I thought. And I went and I found a therapist, and I discovered that the reasons that I was having the anxiety had nothing to do with what I thought. Worked through that, but some of the things, like one of the things right off the bat I remember that she told me was like, it's a fight or flight response. It can help to get up and go for a walk. Just your body wants to do something, so let it go do something. And I started doing that, and that helped a ton. And then, she gave me other like things to do when I was having the issues, techniques and stuff. And then we got into, okay, well, why is this happening? And once I understood the why of it, I mean, it's, knock on wood, I think I'm past a lot of that now, but I struggled with it for years before I finally was like, you know what, I'm not as good at dealing with this as I like to think I am,
Absolutely.
And if I'd have just, found the help earlier, I could have saved myself a lot of grief. But, we live and we learn.
Well, that, and we don't want to, it's just human nature. You never want to admit that you have a fault, or a weakness, and it's really
for me. Well, and I thought, I was like, I'm smarter than this. I can outthink this. I know that the anxiety is irrational, but that wasn't the issue, really. It's just the part that I was thinking about,
And anxiety can get so bad that it can start to affect you physically as well. Your physical health. I remember there was times I used to drive to work and get to work and go, how did I just get here? Because anxiety was through the roof, to the point where, my best way of describing my anxiety, when it would skyrocket, it would feel like I was standing still. The world was going a million miles by me, and I just wanted to reach out and grab something just to slow it down for a moment for me to catch up. It just life was a blur. It really was.
Yeah. And then it makes it tough to, and then I think, for me anyway, then you stop doing certain things because you're like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Well, and then I got to the point where it's like, I don't want to have less of the life that I want just because I don't want to go talk to somebody about this,
Right.
And but I got there in the time it took me, I think that's different for everybody. I wish it hadn't taken me so long, but at least I got there, right?
Yeah. And that's the goal, is just to get there. I know it took a long time to overcome those feelings, of super anxiety, to the point where mentally, or not mentally, but physically, just being ill about it and shutting down. And, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Where it got to the point where you got to push yourself outside of your anxiety comfort zone, not your comfort zone, out of your anxiety comfort zone, to go, you know what, that wasn't bad. I made it, that was good. Now I'm going to try this, and just keep adding to that repertoire until you are like, hey, I got this,
Yeah. I think what is that, exposure therapy or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. I've done the same.
Yeah. And it works. It does work.
It does. Yeah. And it's uncomfortable for a while, but then it gets better, and it gets a little easier every time. And then, now it's at the point where that stuff doesn't bother me anymore, but that took a while. I mean, I guess I also don't want anybody to think like, oh, it's, an easy road. It's not, but at least, like, once you're not going through it all alone, I feel like, for me at least, things started to get better pretty, at least at a steady clip.
Yeah. And it still peeks its little head out every once in a while. There'd be an event coming up or something. And I'll be like, I don't want to go. And it just starts eating at you. And finally, you just, you're saying, I don't want to go, as you're getting dressed. You're saying, I don't want to go, as you're getting in the car or jumping on the motorcycle. You're saying, I don't want to go, as you're driving down the road. And next thing you know, is mentally you're going, I'm here, and it's a small victory to get past, you know what I mean? And then go, I'm glad I came, So.
Yeah. So So for me, the mental part of that, what I have to do is I have to go, okay, I don't want to go and I don't have to go, but I'm going to choose to go.
That's
Right.
good.
Because it was hard. One of the issues I had was like feeling like I had to do things and didn't have a choice over them. And just reframing it in my mind, no, I don't have to go. I'm a grown man. Nothing's going to happen if I don't. But I'm going to choose to.
I like that approach.
And that's for my brain. That's a different enough distinction that I can live with it and not be too anxious. I'm still a little anxious, but it's nowhere like it used to be.
Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, those small steps lead into bigger steps. And I had a person that was like that as well, would not choice wise, but just get worked up about things. And I would sit and just read as they got ready, or just read as they did some daily, chores or function or whatever. So they're focused on what's being said or what they're hearing, but they're still accomplishing. And then at the end of the day, you go, see, you did it.
Yep. And those moments are great when you go, okay, that but I did it,
Right. Yeah. And music will do that too. I know a lot of people use music therapy where, they'll put the earbuds in and just kind of go someplace else mentally, as they're just going about something that normally would create anxiety. And what I was taught, and everybody, every therapist is different, will teach you that to look back and go, when that anxiety starts, and go, okay, bring it on. I know it's going to happen, and I'm going to get past it, just like I have this time. Bring it on, and it gets actually shorter and shorter. And that's what I was taught, and I use that method, and it just works for me.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to bring up there, brother, before we send her a different direction?
No, I mean, this was a lot of fun. It's a good talk.
All righty. Well, for the rest of you veterans out there, keep your head up and moving forward.